Shola was the quietest girl in her class. She always sat in the corner, avoiding the spotlight. Her classmates barely noticed her, except for Toby, the loudest and most intimidating boy in school. Toby thrived on making others feel small, and Shola was his favorite target. One day, their teacher announced a public speaking competition. Each student had to deliver a 2-minute speech in front of the class. Shola's stomach churned at the thought. Public speaking was her worst fear. As the days passed, Toby's taunts grew louder. "Shola can't even say her name without stammering. She'll faint on stage," he cheered, earning laughter from the class. Shola felt her cheeks burn, but deep inside, a spark of defiance flickered. That evening, Shola confided in her older sister, Amaka. "I can't do this," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. Amaka smiled gently. "Shola, you have a beautiful voice. The only person who doesn't believe in you is you. What if your voice could silence the fear in others, just like it's silencing yours?" Inspired, Shola spent the next few days practicing. She stood in front of the mirror, imagining the classroom. She recorded herself and listened back, tweaking every word. By the time the competition day arrived, she was still nervous, but she felt ready. When it was Shola's turn, she walked to the front of the class, her heart pounding like a drum. She glanced at Toby, who smirked, and then at Amaka's words echoing in her mind. She took a deep breath and began. Her speech was about courage, not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. She spoke about finding strength in unlikely places and how standing up for oneself could inspire others to do the same. By the time she finished, the room was silent, not out of ridicule, but awe. The teacher clapped first, followed by the rest of the class. Even Toby looked surprised. Shola returned to her seat, her heart still racing, but this time with pride. From that day on, the taunts stopped. Toby never teased her again. More importantly, Shola discovered her voice, not just for herself, but for those who needed courage too. Adebayo loved football, but no one believed he had what it took to play for the school team. Every time he joined a practice, he struggled to keep up. His passes were weak, and his shots barely made it to the goalpost. The other boys laughed at him, and even Coach Tunde shook his head in frustration. But Adebayo refused to give up. Every morning before dawn, he woke up and practiced on an empty field near his house. He dribbled between stones and watched football matches on TV to learn new tricks. The day of the school championship arrived. Adebayo wasn't picked to start, but he sat on the bench, hoping for a chance. The game was intense, and the score was tied at 1-1. In the final 10 minutes, one of the forwards got injured, and Coach Tunde reluctantly called on Adebayo. "Don't mess this up," the coach muttered. Adebayo's heart pounded as he stepped onto the field. The other team's defenders were big and intimidating, but Adebayo remembered the moves he practiced. He dodged one player, then another, and suddenly the goal was in sight. "Shoot!" someone yelled from the crowd. With all his might, Adebayo struck the ball. It soared past the goalkeeper's outstretched hands and into the net. The crowd erupted in cheers. Adebayo couldn't believe it. He had scored the winning goal. That day, Adebayo learned that hard work and determination could turn any dream into reality. Fola loved to dance, but her small village didn't see it as a real dream. Her classmates often mocked her during rehearsals. "How can you dance barefoot and expect to become someone great?" They'd laugh. But Fola didn't let their words stop her. She practiced every day on the dusty village square, her feet moving gracefully, despite the rough ground. One afternoon, an older woman named Mama Ika, known for her sewing skills, stopped by to watch. "Your dancing is special, my dear," Mama Ika said, her eyes twinkling. "Come to my workshop tomorrow." The next day, Fola found Mama Ika waiting with a pair of beautifully stitched shoes. They weren't fancy, but they fit perfectly and protected her feet. "A gift for someone who never stops believing in herself," Mama Ika said. Fola danced with even more passion. Soon, a video of her barefoot practice, now enhanced with her new shoes, was shared online by a visiting tourist. It went viral, catching the attention of a dance academy in Lagos. They invited her for an audition. Standing on the academy's polished stage, Fola felt the same joy she always did while dancing in her village square. Her performance was raw, powerful, and honest. The judges were stunned. She earned a scholarship and began training with the best dancers in the country. But Fola never forgot her roots. Whenever she danced, she kept a piece of her village in her heart, and her first pair of shoes on display as a reminder that belief in yourself can carry you anywhere. "I judged too quickly." He walked into the cafe wearing tattered clothes. I wrinkled my nose and thought, another homeless man looking for handouts. He sat at a table, staring at the menu with empty eyes. I muttered under my breath, "Why even bother?" Moments later, a little girl ran in, shouting, "Daddy!" She hugged him tightly, and he smiled faintly. "Did you eat today, Daddy?" she asked. He shook his head and said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll eat later." My heart sank. He was saving what little money he had to feed his daughter. I couldn't sit still. I walked over, placed some food on their table, and said, "For both of you." He hesitated, then whispered, "Thank you." Tears filled my eyes as I realized how wrong I had been to judge him. Behind his worn-out appearance was a father doing everything he could to care for his child. Don't judge someone by their appearance. You never know their story. If you believe in kindness, share this with a friend and subscribe.